then we can move to the second presentation of Christian Andreas Schumann.
That's not it.
I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the kindly invitation, and I'm glad to be here. My staff members, Anne Götze, prepared this presentation because he's responsible for this project, Erasmus+. And I have to mention it that we have a lot of different kinds of projects in the field of distance education, online education. We do all in a vertical and horizontal way in cooperation with in the public-private partnership relations, networks, regional and as well international and global organizations. And we do also some things in online education, for instance, online MBA with a Catholic University in the States, or we produce for some million euros already special kinds of contents. And we have a lot of experiences in integrated programs. This means we have in Germany the chance to cooperate with SME as well as large companies. We have university networks, we have the University of Applied Sciences specialized in cooperation with industry and economy. And that's why we have the opportunity and the chance to join the recent project in Erasmus+, together with colleagues from other countries in Europe, and to bring our experiences in the integration of vocational training and academic education into the project. We have as content is address priorities, focus on the project. We say something to the partners, the main phases and activities. But I will try to be a little bit fast in the first part. This is more theoretical part. You can read it in maybe in other projects too. But what is, in my opinion, is very essential are the case studies, which will be in the second part of the presentation. Unfortunately, my staff members prepared 37 slides. It's a little bit too much, I believe, but I have to live with this solution. So excuse me when I will be a little bit fast in the first part. I have another focus to these things because I was dean in my faculty, in the largest faculty in my university. As now I'm dean of studies, and I have a responsibility for two large institutes, one for new kinds of education, the other one for management and information. So I think the first part is more for warm-up, and the second one is the most interesting part of the presentation. It's quite clear Erasmus Plus is related to also especially to the labor market and related to the vocational education and training. We have the triangle of research, education and innovation, and we have to look for the improvement of the youth employment. That's why we at first we analyzed the situation in Europe, and the problem is that we have such a huge difference in the system. The gap between the European states is enormous, and we have maybe in the next years, because also of some demographic factors in Germany, the situation is that we have no unemployment in the youth, but in Greece you have 40% about, and it's really a problem in Europe. And for us it's also a problem because in the cooperation we cooperate now with China, with Mexico, with Brazil, with the States and so on. But sometimes we have a problem to cooperate in Europe because the difference is also so hard and sometimes strange. The interest to learn from each other is very essential for the project. We try to change the knowledge between the different contractors. Yes, the practice is international. We try to share, to compare, to find improvements, especially in learning pathways. The main objective is to improve employability in Europe, especially for young people. And we have a really concrete approach with piloting tools and, at the end, policy recommendations. The contractors are coming from Italy, from Germany, from Denmark, Romania, Hungary, and so on. And the name based on share, improve, and develop shine is then the summary of these three main activities. Sharing means highlighting existing best practices. We come from the best practice approach and going to pilot tools and improvements. And at the end, we try to make some recommendations in the last year. I mentioned it already, we go in the triangle. We have the education institutes, local employers, and the government in the project included. The so-called triple helix concept is the basis for our activities. And now there are 5 parts. The first part is summarizing what we do in each national language. The second part is a description of national, regional context. And I know it because I'm one of the main coordinators of the largest German academic project in China. The main part is the cultural problems. So we have always the same problem. We go with a high level to our Chinese relations, and then we have a slow erosion of the quality, and this we have to improve it again and again. But it's not a question of learning and training; it's a question of culture, and that's why we have to look for such special kinds of special relations in the regional and national situation. We have this description of national educational systems with different activities. Then we have to look for the methodology for identification and selection of the best practices. And the best practices is I believe, the really essential part and important part of our projects. So, yes. So we go to the first best practice. We have a 3-track course, for instance, integrated vocational qualification, integrated mastercrafts diploma, and diploma as well as academic certification. And this means we have an extra occupational study program. And I believe one of the secret and maybe hidden advantages in Germany of the education system in Germany is that we have all parts included and integrated, much more better than 10 years ago. I show you an graphic. You see that there's an opportunity to get the integrated vocational qualification after 2.5 years as a level 4 of the European standard. And then level 6 is a craftsman diploma and also the academic diploma of our university. So the players involved, the university, Chamber of Trade in Germany, and also some local companies. The learning pathways is maybe also interesting. You see it like we try to combine different kinds of academic and vocational training. It's really included and all is matched together so that we stay in time in the 10 semesters for distance education. It's related to the accreditation in Germany. And then you have, after the alumni have not only the vocational certifications, they have also the craftsman's certification, and they have the academic degree after 5 years. So I go to the next thing. Next thing is we have another kind of public-private partnership in my faculty. The first example was electrical engineering. And now we have another one. It's in business informatics. And informatics, we have in cooperation with a media project company in our capital in Dresden. the capital of Saxony, and we have the opportunity that they start with a vocational training, and the essential thing in this case is the recognition of the pre-academic education. And we also recognize as universities things what they do in the field of practical work in the companies, because they come from companies, they are distance students and part-time students, and those they can use their knowledge from the companies for the academic degrees. And the half of the time they are outside of the universities, they are administrated and guided by our private partner. And at the end, the second part, they come to the university to finalize the academic degree. These two things we have as opportunities in our concept, and we have different kinds of characteristics behind this. You can see it in the presentation. I believe the presentation are available for all, so that I can finish my presentation and summarize that we have a theoretical approach in highly integrated study programs. Recently, we have a new curricula where we all integrate vocational training, other kinds of non-academic degrees, academic degrees in 2 or 3 steps, bachelor, master, up to PhD programs, and we try to match it and bring it all together in one program. Is a question of resources, because if we have different kind of programs outside our university, inside the university, we are not able to manage it. We have not enough resources, so we have to look for synergy effects in this way. And we have started now already the curricular planning for such new kinds of study programs, where we all can integrate direct studies, part-time studies, distance education. I believe this is the future. We have one opportunity to match the programs. The other opportunity is to cooperate in networks. This is the second way. So, and other ways we haven't. Maybe we have to use opportunities of industry. We have, for instance, also a large cooperation with a business educational center of the company, of Volkswagen company in Germany. So that's all for today, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you to Christian. Now we have time for questions and comments, both for Ernesto and Christian. If you have questions,
I have a congratulations for your presentation. It's very, very stimulating.
Thank
I
you.
have a question about if you have the relation in virtual lab and real practices in the student after or the experience.
Are just examples of real laboratory, real test on a laboratory. In fact, in the windows previously presented, there are many animations of real experimental tests. But these types of experimental tests are standard tests, are performed on simple samples of concrete, on a simple sample of steel. So it is simple to reproduce animations of this type of test. But in my opinion, it is important to report in this window of the laboratory pictures of real apparatuses. Generally, the engineer does not perform the test in the laboratory, but it checks the results of the test, which are furnished by the laboratory. And this allows students to integrate the concepts of the theory about the structural design with additional aspects, but are important aspects for the evaluation of the safety of structural members. This is the aim of this part of the laboratory. It's a simple part, it's not a complicated part. In fact, this laboratory is finalized to the students attending the course of structural design, not to postgraduate, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Javier?
Hi, I'm Javier Bravo from the Madrid Open University. Thank you for these talks. I think both are very interesting and very different. So,
Yeah.
Ernesto, I have a question about the virtual labs, because I think this virtual lab is similar to a tutor system, because you guide the student through several parts or several steps, and after the student get the knowledge. So
Yeah.
my question is about the hints, you know,
Sorry,
the hints. So or the advices that the student can take, or so is the system fire or throw in automatical way these hints, or the student has to click in something to get this information?
No, students click on hypertext link, and the system furnishes information, but specific information for the step which students analyze. This is very important. I have a young experience. I'm not young, but I have a young experience in an online university, and for me, the most important part of this is the immersive learning. Which is the immersive learning? I read the first article on the distance learning. This word is very important, immersive learning. In fact, these tools allow students to remain in the environment of the laboratory, to remain in the virtual environment of the laboratory and assist students. Moreover, the figure of the teacher remain an important figure, because teacher receive the feedback and he can interact with the students, particularly about the mistakes, about possible misunderstanding on the information of the laboratory. This is very important. The laboratory assists the students, but the teacher is a sort of a trainer in a match. This is my opinion. It's not a consolidated opinion, but University of Marconi has a good staff, a very effective staff, which assists me in this operation, in this translation operation.
Thank you very much.
May I add on something? We have also some different kinds of study centers in Munich or in Dresden, and maybe next time in Hamburg. We have to train Chinese as well, Mexican or Brazil students, and our problem is always that we can prepare it by virtual reality, but later on the question is how we can organize the access to real labs, and that's why we are trying to use augmented reality. For instance, in the cooperation with Volkswagen company, Universal Volkswagen company, we have this opportunity that we prepared by virtual programs, and later on the interested people, as students, have the opportunity to have the direct access, distance access to real systems, so they can control the machines, can work together with the logistic devices and all such things, so that they have also the feeling of the real world behind the virtual things. One example from our cooperation with Tech de Monterrey, we had a global engineering project, and in this case students have to plan and to design an engine, Stirling engine. And this is the first part. And the second part, they come to Germany to produce the engine. So, and I said to my staff members, I have no fun to run through the labs and ask my colleagues who is interested to produce the engine for the Mexicans. So we decided in this case to use another kind of augmented reality. We produce the engine by 3-dimensional printing. We use also our facilities in our labs, and we were very surprised it worked. We produce, they make the final arrangements in Mexico, then they came to us and finished the construction documents and the design documents in CAD, the computer-aided design. And then we printed the parts of the engine, made the assembly, and it really worked. It was surprising for us for the first time, and we had the success that it worked. And the Mexicans were very surprised and happy that we can give them an virtual, real motor and engine. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I think that we can close this session.